Hello, everyone, and welcome to James Talk Sport. With the Olympics well underway and the cycling events off the track, at least, almost finished, let's take a look at who has won the men's and women's road race, men's and women's time trial, the men's and women's mountain bike cross country, and the BMX as well. We'll start with the men's road race. Long race it was, as you'd expect with the Olympics, taking on some lovely little climbs. The big two were Mount Fuji and the Mikuni Pass, and as expected, no action on Fuji. Yes, you had a few probing moves from the Italians at the top, but not a lot. Um, then they headed into the Mikuni Pass, and Pogacar hit it out early, taking McNulty with him and Michael Woods with him as well. um, Pogacar looked to be going easy, putting enough to drop Wout van Aert, Carapaz, and the rest of the riders. But by the top, the race was back together. Kwiato, Carapaz, Yates, um, Wout van Aert was there. All the big hitters that were there, apart from Remco and Primoz Roglic. After that, they had the descent and then a very bumpy road back to the Fuji Speedway, and lots of attacks, lots of probing attacks, lots of marking Wout van Aert and Pogacar out of the race. Carapaz and McNulty eventually got away. Carapaz was clearly the strongest of the two and went on the attack with the inside 5k to go and took the gold medal. The first on the road race for Ecuador, third overall for Ecuador as well. So fantastic for them. Wout van Aert's consolation was the silver medal, and Pogacar's was the bronze. Onto the women's road race, and I think you could safely say that it was the biggest surprise, but the best surprise of the Olympics so far, maybe at all. Dutch came in with a strong team and they would have wanted to make that count in the final 40-50k of the race. But they neglected the breakaway. Kisa Hoffer was in the breakaway and she attacked the first to attack, then she attacked with 40 odd 30 odd k to go, and then it was a game of numbers. The Dutch clearly lost count of how many riders were in the breakaway. Um, they clearly didn't see the blackboard saying what the time gaps were to the different groups. And Anna soloed the final 30 odd K to take an incredible gold medal. To think that she's an amateur rider, has been for a few years, got a PhD in maths. Maybe she could teach the Dutch ladies how to count to five. Um, Consolation for the Dutch was that they picked up the silver with Van Vleuten, so not quite as bad as they hoped, but obvious, but not what they wanted. And Elisa Longo Borghini got the bronze medal. On to the men's mountain bike cross country event now, and it was a battle between three riders: Matthias Flückiger of Switzerland, Tom Pidcock of Great Britain, and Mathieu van der Poel of the Netherlands. Nino Schurter was always going to be there or thereabouts. You had Jordan Thoreau um, up there potentially in the mix if he had World Championship form. Um, First lap ended for one of them. Van der Poel crashed on the drop and never recovered, obviously, in an Olympic road race. He he thought the ramp was going to be there, but it wasn't there. More on that later. Um, Elsewhere in the race, the Swiss looked to put Pidcock under pressure, but with a few laps to go, Pidcock put in a move, and although Matthias Flückiger held on to it, um, it never looked like he was going to be caught. And as a Brit and as a Pidcock fan, I was thrilled and delighted to see him win. He, as we know, is one of the most talented riders on multiple disciplines. This just confirms that even more so now. And good luck to those in Spain riding La Vuelta in a few weeks. Uh, Flukiger took the silver medal, and then a late charge from the Spaniard Serrano took the bronze medal. What a race from him! Um, Brilliant. Beat Schurter and Soro and co to finish, and Koretsky as well. So yeah, well done. But Pidcock got the gold. The women's mountain bike was seen as a battle between a few riders, pulling from Prevost, Kate Courtney, and Lecomte, but their challenges never really materialised. Ferron Prevost nearly took herself and Yolanda Neff out on the steep drop with the ramp. She clearly wanted to get a few sighters in or be a bit cautious on it. Neff wanted to go a bit crazy and take the drop as the men were, nearly taking herself out in the process. A blistering start from Evie Richards put her in contention. Ultimately, she fell away to seventh, but a fantastic race for her. The dominance of Yolanda Neff came back though. She had a few years with injury and things not quite going her way. The arrival of the likes of Courtney and Ferron Prevost and Lecomte as well, sort of set her back a few levels, but boy, is she back. Boy, she targeted the Olympics, and boy, did she do well in it. It was a Swiss 1-2-3. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the other names. I think it was Fry and Langersand or something taking this bronze and silver. So, but Swiss dominance. Courtney's challenge, Ferron Prevost's challenge, and Lecomte's challenge never truly came about. The Olympics is a different beast to the World Cup, and maybe Lecomte got found out a little bit. The men's TT was built as this Ghana show, but I never expected it to be this Ghana show because of his build up to the team pursuit on the track. In any other year, I think, yep, he would have been an Olympic champion in the individual time trial. But that track build up, I mean, he didn't lose out by much on the medals, but he did very well. It was a close battle for the medals. You had Wout van Aert initially, Dennis, Dumoulin, Ghana and Roglic, all within sort of 20 seconds of each other after the first lap. And that looked to be staying there. The battle for gold looked to be going down to the wire. But Roglic clearly paced his effort well with a little bit of help from the carrots of Almeida and Asgreen in front of him. Pull out a minute on Tom Dumoulin, and then the battle for third was between Dennis and Stefan Kung, who was another one that was in the fight for the medals. He was so close to getting a medal. He's been one of the unluckiest riders in time trials this year. He, for me, is the second best time trialist in the world behind Filippo Ganna, and he's just not quite getting it right on the day. On the big time trials, he obviously won in Switzerland and a few other TTs, but one day it's coming. It's coming, Stefan. Keep it up, because you're doing brilliantly. You look so aero. You're probably one of the most aero riders, so it will come. It will come. Um, Brilliant race. If you thought the Dutch were cursed in the cycling this year at the Olympics, you'd have been right until the women's TT. Um, Van Vleuten and Van der Breggen both were on form. Van Vleuten put in 56 seconds into Rousser, and over a minute into Van der Breggen. They only did a lap, um, whereas the men did two, so it was the same course, just they did a lap. She took advantage of the climbs. We knew from Harrogate, um, in that World Championship road race, that she likes the hills and likes the rolling terrain, and she used that to her advantage wonderfully well. Van Vleuten took the gold, Rusa took the silver, and Van der Breggen took the bronze. Now, finally, we're going to briefly talk about the BMX. I will be the first to say that I know nothing about BMX racing apart from it's short and fast and sweet. Um, the Colombian Pajon, or however, sorry about the pronunciation, was the big favourite in the women's to take the gold. But it was the Brit Beth Shrivers that came out early, held it, and then took a fantastic gold medal in the women's race. In the men's race rather, we had a silver medal for the GB for Kai White. Two fantastic results. It's amazing to think that Beth was crowdfunded her way to Tokyo. Hopefully, this means the BMX might get a bit of funding, because kids love BMX bikes, they love going on the skate parks, and hopefully, with a bit of extra funding for the athletes, then they can really inspire the next load of BMXers. So there we have my very short and very sweet whistle stop tour of the Olympic road races, time trials, mountain bikes, and BMX races. The track isn't too far away, so I will review the track races at the end of the Olympics. It's been great to have sport back on the TV following the tour. Such a shame that there's no fans at the arena events, but you know, it's great to have the Olympics on regardless. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time on James Talk Sport.